Welcome to Faith for the Apocalypse. My name is Nick, and this channel is a space for us to come together to talk about faith, politics, and whatever else we want. This video is my first midweek video. These videos are going to be slightly shorter format, 5 to 8 minutes, and will give us a chance to kind of dig in deep and explore one particular topic so that we can maybe start to better understand what's going on in the world around us. Today, I want to dig into the topic of American exceptionalism and think about how it relates to our current conversations around immigration. American exceptionalism is the idea that the United States of America are distinct, unique, and somehow morally superior to other places all around the world. Now, if you're living in the United States, if you've always lived in the United States and you haven't been lucky enough to have an opportunity to travel more around the world, you might think, well, that's what everyone thinks about the nation they live in. But the reality is that Americans relate to our national identity and what it means to be American in a very different way than most people all around the world. This idea of what makes America exceptional has changed and shifted over time, but we still kind of maintain an idea of uniqueness, specialness, and perhaps even divine call. The concept of American exceptionalism was first written about by French sociologist Alexis de Tocqueville. Alexis de Tocqueville toured the United States in 1831 in order to better study our young and burgeoning democracy. In 1840, he published his observations and findings in Democracy in America. As a Frenchman, de Tocqueville was from a system that was overgoing a slow change, moving from an established aristocratic order towards a new, figuring itself out democratic order. He was particularly interested in the United States as a unique example of contemporary democracy at the time, as the United States democracy kind of sprung up in response to freedom from colonial power. According to de Tocqueville's writing, American democracy was at the time exceptional. It was different from what was happening in France and Great Britain. De Tocqueville points to a few factors that could explain this. The first is our location in the globe. The United States was close to powers in order to trade, but far enough away to not have to deal with petty border squabbles. Additionally, our great landmass helped us to grow our democracy as the United States was searching for more resources and was able to continually expand west without running into another global power. Finally, Alexis de Tocqueville was particularly interested in our identity as a Christian nation and how that tied into our founding from Puritans who had particular religious ideals. For de Tocqueville, the United States democracy was exceptional, but it was not perfect. In fact, one of my favorite quotes from Alexis de Tocqueville says, I know of no country in which there is so little independence of mind and real freedom of discussion as in America. While de Tocqueville appreciated some American democratic values, he saw a lot of failures for the people and its government to live up to those values. Once again, it feels like history is repeating itself. While described by de Tocqueville for the first time using the word exceptional or exceptionalism, this idea of American exceptionalism goes all the way back to the beginning of what eventually became the United States. In Jonathan Winthrop's 1630, A Model of Christian Charity, also known as the City on a Hill sermon, Jonathan Winthrop talks about the way that those in the new colonies should interact with one another, pointing out that they had a divine opportunity to create the kingdom of God here on earth and to stand as a shining example for all others to see God's glory. Winthrop is leaning on biblical language here to talk about something that's not just religious, but also political in nature. This combination of using religious language to talk about political identity is continued into our modern history as presidents like Kennedy and Reagan and Clinton and Bush have all used this same language to talk about America's specialness because we are a shining city on a hill who is to be an example to the rest of the world. In some cases, this example is our military might. In other cases, it's a reference to economic superiority or dominance. But either way, this idea of Americans' specialness is used frequently to justify a variety of actions. We've combined our political desires with some kind of intrinsic sense of identity while also utilizing particularly Christian language. So, how does this idea of American exceptionalism come into play in our current conversations around immigration in the United States? I think there's a couple answers for that. The first is the clear division into an us versus them that is at the heart of this idea of American exceptionalism. This us versus them goes back to Jonathan Winthrop and a particular Calvinist perspective that some of us are saved and chosen and others are sinful. The chosen people of the United States are given a certain personality or grouping of traits. We are inventive, we are hardworking, we are rugged, we are independent, all of these other things. Put in contrast with other nationalities and other people who may be seeking to move to this geographic location. Individuals who have their own skills, personalities, hopes, and dreams are then flattened into two-dimensional stereotypes that fit into our us versus them mentality. They are not hardworking like us. They are lazy, will take advantage of our systems, and will somehow deteriorate the systems that we have here. We see this most extremely in our white supremacist brothers, sisters, and kin who don't think that it's just a cultural identity that is at play here, but an intrinsic racial identity that has particular characteristics as well. We also see American exceptionalism at play in the gatekeeping of American identity that we see from our conservative politicians when referring to resident populations such as refugees. American exceptionalism says that there is something different and special about us. So even if we allow individuals to come and live into our borders, if they do not fully integrate and assimilate, then they have not become us and have not garnered that special status. American exceptionalism flattens the different ways that one might express American identity, instead, demanding conformity, often with white supremacist ideals. If you're like me, you've tried to have conversations about immigration with people on the other side of the political aisle and found yourself talking past another person rather than able to actually connect with them around the issue. One of the things at play in the background might be this idea of American exceptionalism and the assumption that America is amazing and perfect and the best place ever and in a constant state of threat. It's helpful for us to understand ideas of American exceptionalism and where they come from so that we can either choose to embrace, reject, or adjust them. While sometimes I do have conversations with folks where I point out that the United States might not be as perfect as they think. Sometimes when it comes to immigration, I like to lean into the idea of American exceptionalism. You're right. There is something special about the United States. And it's our opportunity and our ability to continue to welcome others with open arms in order to create a more diverse, more welcoming, and more understanding world. It's not going to happen today, and it's not going to be easy, but that doesn't mean it isn't worth it. Thank you for joining me today. If you liked this video, please like, share the channels with others. If you are interested in signing up for Faith for the Apocalypse's regular email devotionals, you can sign up for that as well. I will be back with another Devo video on Friday, as well as a special Martin Luther King video coming out on Monday. Thanks so much and see you soon.